In the heart of the roaring 20s, amidst the glitz and glamour of jazz clubs and speakeasies, a shadowy figure emerged from the underbelly of Chicago. A man whose name would become synonymous with power, fear, and the American Mafia. This is the story of Al Capone. As per Diane Capone, the granddaughter of Al Capone, her grandfather was raised as very traditional Italic Catholic upbringing. His family was two hard-working parents with 9 kids on a barber's salary, like most immigrant families back then. Capone was the 4th oldest, and his mother said to him, "Help me, as you are the only one I count on." So from the time he was 10, he took his responsibilities very seriously. Capone left his school very early and picked odd jobs to help his family. He took a job in box factory and worked in a salon in Coney Island. It was a rough place and time, but that was a key moment in Capone's life, as back there, he met some serious players from underworld. His boss, Francesco Ioli, better known as Frankie Yale, gave him a job at Harvard Inn. While working there, Capone tended bar and met another Yale's man, Johnny Torrio, who was a seasoned gangster. At the day, he tended bar, and at night he indulged into the world of crime, and he was straddling there. Capone was physically imposing, tough, and ready to pick up a fight. There he graduated into a whole new world of vice and crime. In the dimly lit corners of the Harvard Inn, a dance club owned by Frankie Yale, a young Al Capone began his journey into the underworld. Yale saw in Capone a rare blend of intellect and muscle, propelling him swiftly through the ranks. However, Capone's meteoric rise nearly came to an abrupt end when a flirtation with a customer's sister resulted in a vicious knife attack, leaving him with the scars and the moniker Scarface that he would come to loathe. By 1919, Capone had already left a trail of violence in Brooklyn, with whispers of revenge echoing through the streets. To escape the looming threat, Yale orchestrated Capone's move to Chicago. There, Capone settled his family in a quiet, respectable neighborhood before seeking out Johnny Torrio, a fellow Brooklyn gangster who had become the right-hand man to Chicago crime lord Big Jim Colosimo. Torrio, who practically ran Colosimo's empire, became Capone's mentor and role model. With his sharp dress sense and impeccable manners, Torrio embodied the businessman that Capone aspired to be. Under Torrio's guidance, Capone's serious life of crime began, and together they forged a partnership that would shape the future of organized crime. It all began on January 17, 1920, when a new constitutional amendment prohibiting the sale and manufacture of alcoholic beverages went into effect. Prohibition promised huge profits to those willing to flout the law. Gangsters in Chicago and across the nation rushed to grab their share. But when Torrio and Capone urged Colosimo to join in, Big Jim said no. He was quite content with what he was doing with his vice operations of prostitution and gambling. He enjoyed his club. He had recently divorced and married a singer named Dale Winter. He was quite happy in his life, very content. Jim Colosimo, who they loved and revered, was going to pass up on the opportunity of making millions of dollars for the group. So, in the gangster world, Big Jim's got to go. On May 11, 1920, shortly after returning from his honeymoon, Colosimo was lured to his own speakeasy for a meeting. As he walked in, a lone gunman stepped out of a phone booth and shot him twice in the head. Some think the triggerman may have been Capone. There is little doubt that Torrio ordered the hit. Now, with their former leader lying dead in a pool of his own blood, the most profitable criminal gang in Chicago was theirs to run as they pleased. In the shadowy alleys of Chicago, no town in America offered more opportunities to ambitious young crooks during the Prohibition Era. The city, steeped in corruption, became a fertile ground for organized crime and bootlegging. Politicians and police alike were easily swayed, but even the average Joe found himself rooting for the bootleggers, turned into lawbreakers by the harsh realities of Prohibition. Capone and his cronies became the conduits for a product that had been legal until yesterday, with Chicago voting overwhelmingly against Prohibition. Torrio and Capone, eager to minimize bloodshed, devised a plan to unite Chicago's rival gangs into a cooperative cartel. Torrio, the diplomat, called the gang leaders together, proposing a division of territories to maximize profit and minimize strife. Soon, most of Chicago's crooks were working together, arranging bribes, sharing expenses, and coordinating deliveries. However, Dean O'Banion, the volatile leader of the North Side gang, resisted sharing his business with the Brooklyn Toughs. O'Banion's brewery partnership with Torrio provided the perfect opportunity for betrayal. In early 1924, O'Banion offered to sell half of his brewery to Torrio, setting a trap that led to a police raid and Torrio's inevitable jail sentence. With one conviction already, Torrio faced mandatory jail time, while O'Banion walked away with a mere fine. Torrio's trial delay gave him and Capone ample time to plot their revenge. O'Banion's legitimate front as a florist made him an easy target. On November 10, 1924, Torrio and Capone's men arrived at O'Banion's flower shop, ostensibly to pick up funeral flowers. By the time they left, O'Banion was ready for a funeral of his own. The bullets that ended O'Banion's life shattered the fragile peace between Chicago's gangs, igniting the infamous beer wars. The violence escalated, earning Chicago its notorious reputation, even as New York harbored more organized crime. Lucky Luciano, Capone's old friend from New York, aptly remarked, "This is a goddamn crazy place. Nobody's safe in the streets, not even Torrio or Capone." In the early days of 1925, Al Capone narrowly escaped death when his car was riddled with bullets. Just 12 days later, two of O'Banion's most loyal lieutenants, Jaime Weiss and Bugs Moran, ambushed Johnny Torrio on a street corner, leaving him gravely wounded. Torrio, barely clinging to life, summoned Capone to his hospital bedside and relinquished control of the syndicate, marking the beginning of Capone's reign during a fierce gang war. Capone, a master of image building, cultivated a larger-than-life persona, becoming a beloved celebrity despite the bloodshed that followed him. His stylish appearance and charismatic presence made him a pop culture icon, even as corpses piled up in the streets. The public, indifferent to the gang violence, saw Capone as a powerful boss, but the truth was far more perilous. Constantly under threat, Capone faced assassination attempts, poison plots, and lived as a prisoner in his own luxurious suite. The most formidable of Capone's enemies were Weiss and Moran. In September 1926, Weiss and his men unleashed a barrage of machine gun fire on a cafe where Capone was having coffee, prompting Capone to eliminate Weiss. However, Weiss's death did not end Capone's troubles, as Moran remained a relentless adversary. Recognizing that peace was impossible, Capone plotted to eliminate Moran, leading to the infamous St. Valentine's Day Massacre on February 14, 1929. Disguised as police officers, Capone's hitmen executed Moran's men, but Moran himself escaped due to a fortuitous barbershop appointment. The massacre, intended to solidify Capone's dominance, instead marked the beginning of his downfall. The public, horrified by the brutality, turned against him. Capone's attempts to salvage his reputation, such as sponsoring a soup kitchen, failed to win back his fans. The massacre's outrage led local reformers to brand Capone with a new nickname he despised, Public Enemy Number 1. Capone's reign, once marked by power and celebrity, now faced an ignominious end. Al Capone, once seen as a benign presence in Chicago, was deeply offended when he was branded as Public Enemy Number 1. President Herbert Hoover sought to bring him down, devising a plan to attack Capone on two fronts, as a bootlegger and a tax cheat. Prohibition agent Elliot Ness grabbed headlines by busting up Capone's bootlegging operations, while IRS agents worked behind the scenes to gather evidence for income tax evasion. Ironically, Capone's downfall came not from his violent crimes, but from failing to pay his taxes. By 1931, with Prohibition nearing repeal, the government charged Capone with tax evasion, leading to a trial where bribed jurors were swapped out, resulting in Capone's conviction and an 11-year prison sentence. Capone's reign effectively ended as he was transferred to Alcatraz, where he remained until 1939, paroled early due to ill health from advanced syphilis. No longer the powerful figure he once was, Capone lived out his days in a Florida mansion, cared for by his loyal wife, May. Syphilis, not bullets, finally claimed his life on January 25, 1947, at the age of 48. Hollywood, true crime books, and popular legends have immortalized Capone's image as a cruel yet elegant gangster. Figures like Tony Soprano and Marlon Brando's Godfather echo Capone's legacy, but the glamour often obscures the grim reality of his rise and fall.